It was a quiet evening in Phoenix, Arizona. Inside a small home, 3 little children played, their laughter filling the air. Zane, just 3 years old, ran around with endless energy. Miraya, barely a year old, clapped her tiny hands. Baby Catalaya, only 7 months, rested in her mother's arms. They were happy, safe, or so they thought. Their mother, Rachel Henry, smiled as she watched them. To anyone else she looked like any other young mom. But behind that smile was something no one could see. A darkness growing, a terrible thought taking shape. As the night went on, the children remained unaware. To them, this was just another evening, another bedtime coming soon. But for Rachel it was different. She had already made up her mind. By morning the house would be silent. The laughter gone. 3 innocent lives stolen by the one person they trusted most. And when the truth came out, it would shock everyone who heard it. Welcome to True Crime Stories videos. I welcome you, my viewers, and most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing you daily told and untold true crime stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Rachel Henry was a young mother trying to rebuild her life. She had moved from Oklahoma to Arizona with her children, their father, and other relatives. On the surface it seemed like a fresh start. But beneath it all, trouble followed her. She struggled with addiction, meth tightening its grip on her mind. It had already cost her custody of her children once. Somehow she got them back. But was she ever truly fit to care for them? Her family saw the signs. Strange behavior. Long vacant stares. Sudden mood swings. Something was wrong, but no one knew just how deep the darkness ran. Rachel spoke about love. She kissed her children, held them close. But something had changed. Her thoughts had turned cruel, her mind clouded by something dangerous. Was it the drugs? Was it something worse? No one could have guessed what she was capable of. No one saw the tragedy coming. Inside the small home, Rachel Henry sat in the dim light of the living room, her children scattered around her. Zane, 3 years old, his usual energy replaced by a rare moment of calm. Miraya, barely a toddler, still too young to fully understand the world, giggled softly as she played with her favorite toy. And baby Catalaya, only 7 months, lay in her mother's arms, the soft coos of the infant filling the room. But Rachel wasn't there in that moment. Not truly. With chilling precision she turned her attention to her eldest, Zane. He had no idea that his playful day was about to end in the most horrific way imaginable. Rachel moved toward him, her face as cold as the walls around them. She pinned him down, his small body squirming beneath her. His little hands clawed at her, his mouth open in a desperate plea for air. His eyes, wide and filled with terror, searched hers for a sign of reassurance. There was none. Zane fought with everything he had, his tiny legs kicking wildly, his voice rising in a frantic scream that could have pierced the night. But Rachel was unmoved. She pressed her hand harder, silencing his cries. Slowly his struggles weakened. His body grew limp. His eyes, once full of life, dulled and then nothing. He was still. Miraya, a year old, had seen it all. Her innocent eyes locked onto her brother's motionless body. The room grew cold, yet she didn't cry. Maybe she didn't understand. Maybe she was too terrified to move. But her little face mirrored the horror of that moment, a tiny body shaking in confusion. Rachel turned to her next, her gaze as steady as ever. Miraya's body trembled as she gasped for air, the fight draining from her faster than it had from Zane. She didn't scream. She didn't struggle. She just looked up at her mother, her tiny chest heaving for breath, until her little body finally stilled, giving in to the darkness Rachel had brought into their world. And then there was Catalaya. Barely more than a newborn, too young to make sense of the chaos unfolding. She couldn't cry. She couldn't fight. She simply gazed up at her mother with trusting eyes, unaware that her life was about to be taken. Rachel leaned in, her lips brushing against the baby's soft forehead. And in that moment, as if guided by some cruel instinct, she pressed down, the baby's soft, fragile body barely making a sound as she slipped away. 3 lives taken in the span of mere hours. Each one innocent. Each one loved. And all of them silenced by the one person who was supposed to protect them. As Rachel laid their small bodies side by side, arranging them as if they were sleeping, the world outside continued, unaware of the horror that had just unfolded behind closed doors. A mother had turned monster and 3 children would never wake up. Rachel Henry did not panic. She did not cry. Instead, with an eerie calm, she lifted each child, one by one, and placed them on the couch. She positioned their tiny frames carefully as if tucking them in for a nap. Zane's arms folded neatly at his sides. Miraya's head tilted just so. Catalaya's tiny hands resting over her chest. To anyone who walked in, they looked as if they were peacefully sleeping. Rachel sat back and stared. No more movement. No more laughter. Just quiet. Minutes passed. Then hours. The front door creaked open, her relatives returning home. Rachel didn't flinch. She smiled. She made small talk. Nothing unusual. No one questioned her. She waited. Time stretched on before someone finally looked closer. The children hadn't stirred. Hadn't moved an inch. Their great-aunt approached, calling their names. No response. A step closer. She reached out, her fingers brushing Zane's cheek. Cold. A sharp intake of breath. Her hands shook as she touched Miraya, then Catalaya. Cold. Then came the screams, shattering the eerie quiet. The family rushed forward, shaking the children, pleading for them to wake up. But it was too late. The warmth was gone. The horror was real. And Rachel Henry sat among them, watching. Silent. The sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, closing in. Flashing red and blue lights painted the walls as first responders rushed inside. 3 children motionless on the couch. No signs of life. No signs of struggle. Just stillness. Rachel Henry stood nearby, her face unreadable. When asked what happened, her voice was steady. She simply said, * they hadn't woken up. * no panic. No tears. Just words. Something felt wrong. The paramedics knew it. The officers felt it. But Rachel remained calm, watching as they examined the tiny bodies. The house, once a home, had become a crime scene. At the station, Rachel sat across from detectives. At first she played along, confused, uncertain. She offered vague answers, avoiding their eyes. But they kept pushing. The silence stretched. And then, just like that, the mask slipped. With no hesitation, no remorse, she told them everything. How she pinned Zane down as he fought. How Miraya gasped for breath, her little body trembling. How she pressed her hands over baby Catalaya, whispering lullabies as she faded away. She didn't cry. She didn't break. She just spoke as if describing something ordinary. And in that room, listening to her every word, even the most hardened detectives felt something chilling. This was not a mother consumed by grief. This was something else entirely. The courtroom was silent. Every seat filled, every eye fixed on the woman at the center of it all. Rachel Henry sat motionless, hands folded, face blank. 3 innocent lives stolen. 3 counts of first-degree murder. The weight of her crime hung heavy in the air. Prosecutors spoke first, their words sharp, deliberate. They painted the picture, how she pinned down her children, ignored their pleas, whispered lullabies as they faded away. Jurors listened, some shifting in their seats, others staring in disbelief. Rachel showed no emotion. No tears. No regret. At first, she pleaded not guilty. But as the months passed, something changed. In December 2024, she spoke 2 words that sealed her fate. * I'm guilty. * no explanation. No apology. Just a quiet confession, spoken without feeling. And then came February 2025. The sentencing. The judge's voice was firm, unwavering. 3 consecutive life sentences, no chance of parole. No freedom. No future. The gavel struck. It was over. Justice had been served. But as Rachel was led away, one truth remained: no punishment could undo the horror. No sentence could bring back the 3 little lives she had taken. The news spread fast. 3 children. Their own mother. Gone just like that. The father shattered. Relatives lost in grief. The Phoenix community struggling to make sense of the unthinkable. How could a mother do this? How could something so cruel happen in their own city? First responders carried the weight too. The officers who stepped into that home. The paramedics who touched cold, lifeless skin. The silence of that room, the sight of 3 small bodies arranged so carefully, would never leave them. Some would talk about it. Others never would. But none of them would ever forget. The community gathered. Candlelight vigils. Photos of smiling faces now gone. People who never met Zane, Miraya, or Catalaya wept for them. They spoke their names, refusing to let them be forgotten. But the house where it happened? Empty. A reminder of something too painful to erase. Some say the air still feels heavy there, like a place where laughter was stolen and never returned. To all my viewers, and especially my loyal subscribers, thank you. Your support drives us to keep improving, to bring you the most chilling, thought-provoking, and untold true crime stories every single day. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us as we uncover the darkest corners of human nature, stories of mystery, betrayal, and justice. Because in the world of true crime, Every detail matters and every story deserves to be told.